Hello and welcome to today's webinar on Excel tips and techniques hosted by the Federation of Credit and Financial Professionals and Credit to Be. Today we have Eric Mann from Kyocera here, and he's going to be presenting on the Excel tips and techniques. Throughout the presentation, if you have any questions, you can pose those in the question or chat function on your side toolbar. We will be taking a couple of timeouts during the presentation, and we're going to go over the questions in bunches. It'd be great if you have any questions. Eric has said feel free to ask them and we will get to them. We're going to just start off with a little bit of introduction about our sponsors of today's webinar. We're going to start off with the Federation of Credit and Financial Professionals. They're the NACM affiliate for New York, New Jersey, Philadelphia, and Baltimore. For those of you who are not familiar with the Federation, the organization provides extensive education for credit practitioners as well as networking and other credit services in close partnership with Credit to Be and other vendor organizations. If you would like to get more information, I've put the link in here, and you can also visit them at the NACM Credit Congress in June 2014 to learn more. And then a little bit, this is also sponsored by Credit to Be, which is a credit reporting service. They provide a transformational cloud-based platform combining third-party information with a growing network of leading credit professionals and grantors, all with the common goal of obtaining unparalleled credit information about their trading partners. The main goal is to provide you with more relevant, timely, and highly accessible credit information. This is done by bringing together third-party data, user insights, news, and analyst expertise to create an unparalleled credit experience. And now just to go into a little bit about our speaker, Eric Mann. He's a CPA and CGMA who has been working in credit since the 1980s, primarily with Japanese multinationals. He's been using Excel since the 1980s also, and he previously worked with VisiCalc and Lotus 123. He's currently the Credit and Collections Manager for Kyocera Document Solutions America, and he's also a board member of the Federation of Credit, and he has also taught financial analysis classes for the Federation. So with that, I'm going to turn the presentation over to Eric, and he's going to begin.
Good morning and good afternoon. I will simply say this is the first time I've ever done a webinar, so I appreciate any patience if I have any technical difficulties here. What I have done is I've prepared a data set that we're going to use today, and we're a hypothetical company, and we have some non-hypothetical customers. In fact, being a hypothetical company, I decided that we can be as grandiose as we like. So I have selected 30 of our customers who all happen to be members of the Fortune 50. So if you were looking at these names, you're going to see that we have a combination of customer numbers and names, because this is a hypothetical report that I downloaded into Excel from my ERP system. We have a customer, we have a territory, we have a channel, a sales rep, a credit rep, and a credit limit. And we're going to go through some of these cells, and we're going to talk about some of the information. And we're going to use a couple of functions within Excel to, if you look at that first column, it's not really ideal. We would like the customer number to be in one column and the name to be in another column. So we're going to parse that out using a couple of Excel formulas that many of you may be familiar with and some of you may not be familiar with. So we're going to do that first. We're going to try and break that customer name down into a customer account and a customer name field. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a couple of columns here. So I'm just going to insert a column, and I will do that a couple more times here. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a column using the find command. I'm going to call that column find because that's a real good mnemonic for me to remember what I'm trying to do here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to look for a piece of this text string, because that's really what column A is. Column A is a text string. And I'm going to look for something there that I can use that's going to help me break these apart. And if you'll notice, the customer numbers are not the same number of characters. So I can't just use the equal left A2, 4 and then drag it down because I have different sizes there. So I'm going to look here for something that will allow me to do this even if the customer name is long, even if the obviously the customer name has different numbers of characters. So I want to use something, and I'm going to use that hyphen, but I'm going to use more than just the hyphen. I'm going to use the space before the hyphen, and the space after the hyphen. I'm going to locate the beginning of that text string, which is the first space before the hyphen, and then I will use that as a floating indicator to parse my data. The command is find. Okay, so wfind, and if you'll see here, it returns the starting point of one text string within another text string, and find is case sensitive. If you get an error, that's probably because you didn't make it case sensitive. So open parenthesis, and the text we're going to look for, and we always indicate text with a double quote. So equal find, open parenthesis, double quote, space, hyphen, space, ending double quote to say that's the end of the text string we're looking for. Within text, that's the field I would like to look in. I would like to look in the cell A2. All right, and then I could do a starting number. In this case, it's not really important for me to do a starting number. We're going to just start from the space number 1 in the field in the cell A2. So I'll just resize this a little bit smaller here. Okay. What you'll see is the beginning of that text string that I specified starts in cell 5. So how are we going to use that to break out the information? So we're going to do a customer number. Shrink this a little bit. Customer number is going to go equal left. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at the leftmost characters in this cell, and we're going to look for text in cell A2, and then we're going to say how many characters. Well, as I said earlier, the number of characters is variable. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say I'm going to look for B2, which in this case is 5, number of characters minus 1. So in this case, B2 is 5. I'm going to look for the first 4 characters. And then I'm going to close this with a parenthesis, and that's going to magically pull out 2130. I'm going to drag both of these down, and you're going to see what happens magically. Regardless of the number of characters in that customer number, we have parsed out the customer numbers. We then need to go and we need to pull out the names of these customers. We're going to use the mid function. The primary functions used for parsing text are left, mid, and right. The mid function allows you to pull information from within a string, not necessarily from the right or the left. So once again, the text we're looking for is in cell A2. Our starting number is going to start with cell, oops, people are trying to call me there. Starting in cell A2, we're going to look at B2 for our reference cell. That's our find value, which represents the first string here. And we want to offset from that. So we have space. we have a hyphen, we have a space. That's three character lengths. So if I'm doing this calculation through here, and I don't know how long my characters are, so I'll say that it's 75 characters long. That should encompass every name on this list. And once again, that's a variable. I don't want to truncate anybody, so I figure 75 will probably give me more than enough. And I've pulled Apple. So if I, once again, drag down, I now have my customers. I have my customer numbers. I have my, obviously we already had territory, my channel, sales rep, and credit limit. Okay. Now, I'm building a Dynaset here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all this information. I'm going to copy it into a tab I've set up called Dynaset. And I'm going to do a paste special values only after I have pasted it. What I've done first is I've pasted it to bring over all the information, and then I have, as I said, I have taken it and I have further paste special. So all I have in the cells are values. If you look here, I just have values for the customer numbers and for find. Find can disappear at this point. I don't really need it anymore, so I'm going to delete it from my Dynaset. But if we go back here to our customers, we actually have formulas here. So if you change something, those formulas could change. When I'm working with data I don't want to screw up, I do that paste special and just stick the values in, and that way I know that if I change something in another sheet, I'm not going to change something on this sheet. Now, what I've been asked to do by my boss is my boss, VP of Credit, said, well, I'd like to know what these customers' ranks are in the Fortune 50. You know, are they the number 1? Are they number 30? Where are they in the listing? And I'd also like to know the level of sales and income for those customers. I actually have that over here, but it's in another worksheet. Now, this could well be another spreadsheet, but the navigation's a little easier when you're within a file. So I'm doing everything within a particular workbook rather than having lots of different files open and getting lost swapping between screens. So I have that information here. You'll notice I have it by name. So the first thing I'm going to do here, and this just makes things a lot easier for this function VLOOKUP, is when the key that you're going to use, the common element in both the data file and the working file are the same. You have to have something to relate it to. You want that to be in my first column so I don't screw anything up, and you would like it sorted low to high. I'm going to go to the sort function, custom sort, sort by name, because my data has headers, A to Z. Okay, all I've done is I've put my Fortune 50 companies into alphabetical order. I'm going to go back here to my Dynaset. I'm going to take my customer name column. I'm going to copy it over here, and I'm going to insert it in front of my B column, which actually can go away. I don't really need this combined column. I have my customer numbers. I have my customer names. I no longer need that artifact of the report that I use to pull into Excel to obtain that information. Likewise, I'm going to take this collection of data, and I'm going to sort it in the same fashion. And this is going to make it so this tab for Dynaset and my 2013 ranking not only have a common data element, but they have a data element that is sorted the same way in the same column in both tabs of this workbook. First thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to pull over the ranking. Let's pull over a ranking. And we're going to use a command here called VLOOKUP. VLOOKUP looks for a value in the leftmost column of a table and then returns a value in the same row from a column you specify. By default, the table must be sorted in ascending order. So you noticed I put everything on the far left. I also sorted them both in ascending order so that this should hopefully work. One of the advantages to this is you can look for something in a worksheet with 60, 80, 150 columns. It really is a wonderful function. It assumes that your information is organized in this fashion. If you have it organized in a descending fashion as opposed to a fashion that goes across, you can use another command called HLOOKUP for horizontal lookup. We're not going to cover that in the class. It works the same way as VLOOKUP. It just looks down instead of across. So VLOOKUP tells me my lookup value. What am I going to compare against when I'm going to look in the other data sheet? Well, my lookup value is going to be the data in cell A2. Okay? Now I have to specify a table array in my target table. So I'm going to hit a comma. I swap over to my ranking worksheet here. And I'm going to take my data here. I'm going to highlight it. And then we're going to talk just for a second here. If you will note, my cell reference is, so this is the after the comma, apostrophe 2013 ranking apostrophe exclamation point. That is denoting the particular tab that I have selected. If you select this data from an external file, you will see both the file and tab data noted there. Now what I'm also going to do is I'm going to create what are called absolute cell references. They are a beautiful and dangerous thing, depending what you're doing with your worksheet, but I call them anchors. Because no matter how I sort this, no matter how I rearrange this, it's going to always look from cell A2 to cell D51. So I'm just taking this and I'm saying, I only want to look at this. I don't want it to vary no matter how I rearrange this data. I always want to look in that absolute cell reference. Okay, a column, then my column index number, and this is the only counterintuitive bit that I disagree with Microsoft. I would have used the column name like A, B, C, or D. Microsoft, in their infinite wisdom, uses numerical value of that column from the left-hand side. So my rank is in column B, which is the second letter of the alphabet, so I'm going to put a 2 here. That's my column index. And then this is well, the next element of this formula is whether you want an approximate match or an exact match. What is meant by approximate match is if it doesn't find a value that matches the value that you've specified in that first column, it will go to the row above and give that information, which for me in this case is particularly meaningless. If you have a file that's organized where you have a header field in a column and then blanks down to the end of that grouping, that's a very, very useful function. It'll go to the last known good row of data and present it based upon that organization. In almost every case, I find myself using the command false because I want an exact match. So, hit the button, and it tells me that Amazon is 49 out of the Fortune 50. Once again, your formula, equal VLOOKUP, the cell reference you want to compare to your target spreadsheet, the tab, the absolute range, the column in which you wish to look, and the fact that you're looking for an exact match. So I'm going to drag this down. and we have our Fortune 50 customers who happen to be customer of ours by rank. And that's part of the data he looked for. He also wanted me to find the sales and income. At this point, I'm going to stop and see if we have any questions, and then answer the questions before we continue.
Sure. If anyone does have any questions, like I said, you can feel free to ask them now. We'll take a minute or so and see if any questions come in, and if they do, I'll pose them to Eric. Another thing that I just wanted to mention to everyone is that we will have a recording of this webinar that we will post on our website. I know it's a lot to take over, and you're going to want to sometimes look back through this for in case you have any questions or you want to look through things again as you're actually doing them. So we will have a recording of the webinar go up on our website. I'm not seeing any questions, Eric, so you can feel free to continue.
Has everybody dropped off the call, or do we still have some people left?
Oh, question came in.
We have a question.
Will we be able to print the sample spreadsheets? I don't believe so. What we're going to do is we're actually going to give a live recording of the webinar. Do you want to provide them with the sample spreadsheets? If you don't mind. All right, so then what we can do is we'll actually email you out the sample spreadsheets to everyone who's on the webinar today, and you guys can take a look at them.
Just one disclaimer. These are, while I wish these were all my customers, they're not my customers. I made up a sample data set to work with today that my CFO wouldn't kill me if he found out about.
We have a couple of questions coming in here.
Okay.
Can VLOOKUP be used against a table file, Access or SQL or DB2?
Yes, what you would do is you would simply bring that data into Excel, stick it into a tab or into a file, in Excel format, and then yes, you could use it. So if I were using Access, I would export to Excel, and then I would take that file and I would simply do the reference to that file. Then instead of going to a tab, I would go to the file, put that in, and then complete my target information, hit enter, and magically that information will be there as long as you have the criteria.
All right, the next question, is there some way to set a default to lock range with the $sign when the data is on the same worksheet?
Certainly. You can, for a range or for a cell, you can always lock a cell value or a cell range by putting a $sign. The reason there are two $signs is you independently lock the row and the column. $sign in front of the A, B, C, or D obviously is locking the column, and the $sign on the 1 or the 51, or 2 or the 51 in this case, is locking row.
Can you show the formula again in equals left?
Certainly. Let me go back to the customer file. Okay, that formula here is left is the command, A13 is target that I want to pull the information from, and then the offset, I could do, if I just wanted to do in this case, instead of B13 minus 1, I could put 5. Easily put 5. If all of my customer numbers were the same length, I wouldn't bother with a find command. I would just put, you know, it'd be real easy, because what I would do is I would simply go in and I would put 5 instead of B13 minus 1. Conversely, if it was all formatted that way, you could also use in the mid command, you could simply use, let's go, 5 would be the last character, 6, 7, 8, and I would start with 9. So A13, comma 9, and 75 and parenthesis, and that would give you the information. I set my customer numbers up intentionally so that you could not easily parse them, because I wanted to demonstrate the power of the find command.
Okay. And a question that we have a couple of people asking is, do you have a list of the commands or formulas? Would that be possible to give out? The ones that you're using.
Certainly, I could prepare something and put it in another tab on the file.
Okay.
And just an explanation of what each of those does.
All right. When separating customer number, customer name, wouldn't it be easier to use the text-to-column option?
You could. You could. This is a way that I find is fairly simple and highly reliable. It's the way I choose to do it. What you're going to find in Excel is, like in Access or a SQL program like DB2, there are dozens of ways to get to the same place. You need to find something that is reliable, repeatable, and fast. And I find this to be reliable, repeatable, and fast.
All right. May I ask you to explain once again why the mid formula I use for 375?
I use 375. Okay, let's go to that mid formula. What we're doing in mid is we're going to look at the leftmost column. On this particular row, that's row 13. What we're then doing is we're going to take the value to determine our offset. Let me just call that the offset key. To determine our offset, we're going to use the find formula, which has told us that the beginning of that text string, space, hyphen, space, begins at character 6 in that cell. And then I don't want in the customer name, I do not want that space. What I want is an offset of 3 from that space to the right, which gives me the beginning of the text portion of the customer name. The 75 is an arbitrary length. I'm actually going to do something. I'm going to change this to a 5 real quick just for this one column. And that will give you the first 5 characters, or make it a little bit easier, I'm going to put 7 characters. There we go. So if you count over, you have reading the first 7 characters of that field. I don't know, I haven't looked to see how long my character strings are, so I just set 75 because I assumed that none of these names would be over 75 characters long. And it certainly doesn't hurt to have all those blank spaces at the end.
All right, the other question, what is the easiest way to bring up data from a PDF file into Excel?
Well, I wish I knew. What I would probably do is I would use a program called Monarch. For those of you whose budgets do not allow Monarch, if you have Adobe Acrobat Professional, or if you have, Nuance's PDF Creator program, you can play around with that. If you figure out how to do it completely cleanly, give me a call, send me an email, let me know, because I haven't figured it out yet. When I have to pull information from a text file or something like that, I use a program called Monarch. And the only reason I have a license is I had a previously magnanimous VP who bought me a copy of it.
All right, so that's all the questions we have. You can feel free to continue.
Thank you very much. What we're going to do, go back to our Dynaset, and we type that tedious program. Let's Okay, we previously have gone to that external tab and we've pulled the rank. Now, I can do the same thing. I can type VLOOKUP all over again, but I'm a very, very lazy person. Each of you in your business and personal relations would do well to find the laziest people in your circles, your social circles, and observe how they get things done. I find that lazy people are highly creative. Being a lazy person myself, I first look to plagiarize other people's work product, and failing that, I try and figure out the easiest way to get something accomplished. So that way I can spend more time watching cat videos on the internet. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go and I'm going to take this information I pulled up earlier. I'm going to copy it. Hit escape, come to these two cells, and I am going to paste it. Oh, come on. Let me do one at a time here. Okay. Now that doesn't look very, very useful, does it? But if you go over to my column, you will notice that the information I'm looking for is in cell C and cell D, which are correspondingly the third column and the fourth column from the left. Go back here to my Dynaset, and if you'll recall, I specified the column in this third area here. I'm actually going to hit the formula button here so you see where all this stuff is. So if you look here, you have A2, which is my reference value. You have my table array, which consists of the tab and the range and absolute anchored cell references. You have the index column I'm looking for, which in that case was rank. In this case, I want column 3, which is sales, and I want an exact match. And here's the magic of being lazy. And I'm going to take this one, and I'm going to make that column 4. And I'm going to make these all look pretty. Oops, I want to pay special. Please ignore the man behind the curtain here. Format cells, number, 0. Okay, that's beautiful. Take this information, drag it down. Whoa! What did I do? Well, I went down and I tried to reference something that wasn't here. You're not going to find anything there. And in fact, if you get a no match, and we'll do this a little bit later when we deliberately look at no matches, we're going to see this $N/A, which tells us, hey, I didn't find a criteria that met what you told me to go look for. Right now, I'll just delete that. Other columns. So you could also change the worksheet reference and do all sorts of fun things and to avoid having to retype that. He lost this information. He's not a hypothetical boss, but he's a real boss, and he does ask me for all sorts of obscure information. So
Can we have you? The screen froze for a second while you were doing that. While you were going down, when you dragged down, screen froze as you were dragging down.
Okay.
So we're just gonna
do a reset here. Okay. Now there are a couple ways, I said earlier, there are a couple ways to do this. You can go copy, paste, or you can drag down by using the lower right-hand corner. I typically use the lower right-hand corner because I'm too lazy to hit 2 keys. So does that satisfy everyone?
Yes.
Okay, good. As I mentioned, my boss asked me all sorts of interesting information. So I've given him all this information, And now he's going to ask me, gee, of their sales, they're big companies that are selling stuff, how much are we selling to them in each year? Okay, good question, boss. Let me go find out. So I go into my report writer and I dump out a report and I say, these are the Fortune 50 companies. I would like to know what my sales are for 2013, 2012, and 2011. Okay, well, here I go. I have a file and I have a sneaking suspicion he's going to want to know if the credit limits here are appropriate. So that's probably the end target. So I'm going to use VLOOKUP to pull this information into the Dynaset. Now, if you noticed that spreadsheet or that worksheet that we had done, let me escape here. Word of warning. Once you have set up your information with your VLOOKUPs, I suggest highly doing a copy, paste special, values. This gets rid of all your formulas and locks your data in. You want to do this if this is data that's not going to be dynamically changing over time. But it allows you to move columns and rows around without messing up your references. Okay, so I don't have a VLOOKUP in here anymore, but I certainly have the information. Now, I'm going to take my customer number. I'm going to put that in my first column. I'm going to then sort it by customer number. Oh boy, that's not good. What do you know? My customer number field is a text field, and I'm trying to sort it numerically, and that's not going to work. So I'm going to just call this customer number, and I'm going to use the value command. What the value command does is it looks at a text string and it gives its equivalent numerical value. I wouldn't obviously do this on Marathon Petroleum, but I will customer number field. This is a very simple command. All it says is give me the value of the cell that I type in the reference number to. So here we have 132.82. Now we have something to sort with. Maybe I didn't do that right. Let's try this again. Helps if you select the right column. There we go. Magically, everything is in the right place. Now, if you look at the sales column, you'll also see that these are values here. So what we're going to do is go back to the Dynaset. I'm going to just make these a little bit smaller here. Give myself a little bit more room. When I come up here and I select and I double click, that's my column width command. So if you were unsure what that little piece of magic was, all I'm doing is saying make it fit exactly. Okay, equal. the look up column. A2, go to my sales sheet, give me cell range I'm interested in, anchor that by row and column by putting a $sign. Put another comma there. Column index I'm going to want here is column 1, 2, 3 from the left. And I always want an exact match, so I'm going to type false. And there we go. Oh, didn't grab it. Oh. I'm actually going to be lazy. I only want to do this once. So I'm going to copy once again the information in that formula. I'm going to paste it to these two cells. Okay, if you'll notice they're the same because they're all referencing 2013. I'm going to take this third factor here. Once again, the column index number. I'm going to change that to column 4, which is my 2012 data. I'm going to take that to column 5, which is my 2011 data. And now by grabbing the correct row, I will drag this down. And okay. And expand all these to the same width, and then I'm going to fit them in columns. Actually, I'm going to format them, make it more beautiful here. Actually, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do a format. A little paintbrush here, make those columns L, M, and N look just like column K. Fit my width again. And what I have is I have the sales of my company to these Fortune 500 companies for these years. Okay, let's say the boss asked me, okay, how many turns of their credit line are they getting for the last 2 years? This should be a real simple formula. Turns equal I can either say cell L, column L and column M, or I can be fancy about it and use the average command. I'm going to average 2013, 2012, divide that by credit line, and do something incorrect. Let me see what I did wrong. Oh. Probably should have specified Isn't it wonderful when you do these things live? Well, when I have a problem, what I like to do is get rid of extraneous information and see how I can fix my problem. Okay, there's my average. And I know what I did wrong. Once again, average. And outside of these parentheses, let's see if I can do my credit limit. Okay, and I'm going to do this format number my boss, being a rather shrewd man, wants to make sure that A, we're not leaving a credit line up there with too much exposure, and conversely, that we have established an appropriate credit line so that they don't place orders that then sit on hold while we scramble around and try and do a credit line review of the account. So what we've just done is we've taken that information that we pulled in from the sales, and we've determined the number of turns of the credit line we're getting for each of these companies. Okay, I'm going to stop for a moment and see if there are any other questions, and start with some more stuff.
We had a couple of questions come in, and if anyone does have any questions, you can feel free to send those in now. So we had someone ask about the customer number when you change it to value. They said that you can also click on the error and change to number. They wanted to know if you could show that way as well.
Certainly can, but I didn't want to do that 30 times. So. Try and get that. I normally use a mouse. You can also just double-click the cell and hit enter, and that will fix it. But once again, I'm a lazy person, and I didn't want to do this 30 times. In real worksheets that I work with, I often have thousands or tens of thousands of rows. I'll highlight the column and hit that. I just learned something. One thing about Excel is, try this. Someone typed in a suggestion, highlight the column and hit the exclamation mark. Okay, let's try this. Okay, it's a great suggestion. I haven't figured out exactly what I'm supposed to do here. But aha, this exclamation mark. Number, convert to number. Lovely. I appreciate whomever sent in that comment, and I probably won't give you credit for it, though. I'll pretend I knew that all along. But thank you very much. That's going to save me a lot of time and not have to enter extra columns in my worksheet, which I don't have to delete. So thank you very much. We all just learned something from one of the participants today. And that's actually the beauty of the webinar, is you can actually pull the information from the different people because everybody knows something that somebody else doesn't know.
All right, we have another question. Can you show how you remove the formulas from the spreadsheet?
What I did was I highlighted cells, I hit copy, and then I hit values, which is this little 1, 2, 3 clipboard, or paste special values. And then hit enter. Formulas magically go away. The values that were in that cell that were derived from the formula stay. Okay. Okay, let me just kind of rush through here, and I see we don't have a whole lot of time left. So I'm going to go to our sales here. That should go to our customers. Now, here's something else. We have these credit limits that we've established. They're here on our Dynaset. We also have the sales. What I'm going to do is I'm going to find out, let me anchor this first row here. It's pane, top row. I want to know my sales, just to kind of get a feel for this, for 2013, 2014, 2012, and 2011 for my customers by territory, and we're going to use a command called SUMIF. Let's just go, what I have, north, east, Midwest, and west. Equal SUMIF. This is a lovely command. I'm going to SUMIF a range based upon a criteria. And if I remember how to do this right, my range is the cells specified. So what I'm going to use to establish my key is going to be territory. Okay, that's the range I'm going to use to decide whether it's southeast, north, or west, or Midwest. So I think the first one I did here was north, once again with my little double quotes at each end. And the sum range, because I want 2013 first, is going to be L2 to L31. Okay, that didn't work. See what I did wrong? Let me see, do I have a north? No, I haven't. Well, I used a criteria that didn't exist. So apparently I have east, west, south, and Midwest. Okay, let's take this. We're going to make this south. That's what I get for putting data together late in the evenings. I knew the formula was right, so it had to be something else. Okay. Once again, A is to be lazy. Control V. Control V. Control V. East. Midwest. West. Now, if I drag these over, you'd say, oh, that would be working great. That isn't going to work. Why isn't that going to work? That isn't going to work because I didn't anchor my cells. So I'm going to anchor my columns. I don't have to anchor my rows. So in this case, I'm just anchoring my columns. So I only want column D. And I only want column L. You'll notice I'm leaving the rows relative. When I drag this over, make this M for 2012, and make this N for 2011. I'm going to drag those down. There's also a command called COUNTIF that works very much the same way. I'll let that as an exercise for each of you to do. And unfortunately, I had about 20 more minutes worth of stuff, but we have run out of time. I'm going to answer any last questions. And I want to thank all of you, particularly those of you who gave us alternate ways of doing things, or in one case, showed me something I didn't know how to do before. So I want to thank all the participants, number one, for your time, and number two, for your attention. thank you very much, and we'll take whatever questions are left.
So we have a question here talking about the last thing that you did, asking if you could have referenced K 33, 34, 35, 36 instead of referencing the text.
What I really don't like to do is I don't like to specify ranges that can put the wrong data in the wrong place. I've worked for several Japanese companies, and I think they hire employees in Japan simply to look over every spreadsheet we ever create here to find some sort of mistake in it. So I would rather take, as lazy as I am, I would rather take the extra effort to, actually I did something wrong here. What did I do? Oh, maybe I should have locked these cell references. That's what I did wrong. When in doubt, take the extra effort to look only in the place you expect to find the data, because ultimately you will make an embarrassing error, and that will not be a good thing, like I probably just did here. So we're going to leave that. You guys probably picked up on the correct way to do it, and I'll go fix my error in the data sheet that I put online.
All right, you only have 30 rows, so copying the cells is easy. How do you easy copy the data in 10,000 cells?
Copy. Paste. I just pasted a column. I could have a million rows if the system doesn't worry at that point.
All right. If there's any other questions, we're going to leave it open for another minute or two. You guys can feel free to type in those questions and we'll get to them. As we said, we're going to send out the spreadsheet to you guys so that you can take a look at it and sort of see what was done and see all of the formulas and things that are in it. We are also going to post, like I said, a recording which will have all of the audio and the video that's recorded here today, so you can take a look back if you want to see anything again. One last thing, while everyone is sort of looking, we're wrapping up here, when you exit the webinar, there's going to be a survey that you can fill out at the end. It would be really great if you guys can fill it out. It helps us to sort of keep improving our webinars and going forward. So if you guys could take a minute, it takes less than 30 seconds to fill out. It's 3 or 4 quick questions. We really appreciate when you guys do that. I'm not seeing any more questions coming in, so with that, I'd just like to thank Eric for coming in and taking the time to present, and I'd like to thank all you guys for taking your time to listen into our webinar today. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me directly. Eric, would you just mind putting up the contact information on there quickly? You can reach out to me directly on the contact information that's on the screen. We'll leave this up for a minute or two so that anyone can take it down and contact me if you would like. If you have anything that wants to go to Eric, you can reach out to me and I will pass those questions along. With that, we're going to close the webinar. So again, thank you guys all for coming today, and we hope to see you at the next webinar.